All right, to be determined Friday show, episode 12. Happy Friday. At Trabs Matt. That's a thumbs up from at Trabs Matt. He's going to choose to be silent throughout the Friday show. Now he's giving me the fake what. Yeah. Let the people know you're here. Let the people know you're here.
You surprised me a little bit with starting because I was doing some weird thing with my hand.
So I wasn't even noticing. Sorry.
Chalk it up the character.
Hey, it makes it look good. Makes the whole thing look good. How was your Thursday?
Very good.
All right, excellent. You had some family over for the Bills preseason?
Always and forever.
It's got to be a nice treat to have some family over because you're stuck working a lot of lot of sporting events. So to be able to have some friends and family over is nice.
Yeah, especially for an actual game day too.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this Bills' first preseason game. They fall to Minnesota 17-10. Who really cares about the score? I thought Sammy looked good early, and maybe that's just a result of them getting the ball to him. But what do you have, like 5 targets, 4 catches, something like that?
Yeah, he had 4 catches. I did not catch how many targets he had, but he was their leading receiver, which for somebody with the starters not playing a lot, that's pretty good. And my biggest takeaway from how he played is that he was not shying away from contact.
No, good point.
So one of his first legitimate receptions and yak, so it wasn't just 1 or 2 yards. There was a collision, and it's almost ironic that the Vikings guy came out of it a little bit hobbled because you just expect that at this point from Sammy Watkins.
No, yeah, you're right. That's good to note that he absorbed some contact, bounced right up, was ready to go. The scare on the injury front actually came from Tyrod when he sort of tweaked his knee a little bit, and I instantly think ACL. I don't know if we're just trained, kind of like with Tommy John's. I just think automatically ACL. And he just sort of limped off, came right back in, and looked okay. So we got through the first preseason game, and he's okay. Jonathan Williams looked, I thought, like the actual backup running back of the Buffalo Bills. He was powerful. He was downhill. I don't want to say he was Carlos Williams, but he seemed to be more that north-south, that balance to Shady's shiftiness, which is, I think, what this offense needs. And really, that's what I think you assume you're going to get with Mike Tolbert, and you do, because he's the bowling ball that just gets up and down the field north and south. But J-Will, I thought, looked good. I thought he was pretty versatile in his runs tonight.
I was pleasantly surprised with Jonathan Williams.
Yeah.
Because he had 3 big runs, and you just haven't seen a lot of them. He didn't get that many carries last year because of where he was in the depth chart.
Yeah.
So just being able to slap your peepers on plays like that, he had 3 big runs. One of them got taken back because I think it was a penalty on Richie Incognito.
Yes.
But just to see that, and it was early on, a lot of people were talking about the fact that, first drive, there he is. There's Jonathan Williams.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't against scrubs in a preseason setting. So that's just another check mark positively on his night.
That Richie play, by the way, the penalty, it was so far behind the play. And I know it's preseason, they don't want to set the example or whatever, but to me it was just a worthless call. It had literally nothing to do with the play.
Well, I see red when I see yellow. And my thing is, unless it absolutely has a bearing on a play, you don't throw a flag because of it.
Yeah.
So that had nothing to do with where the ball was.
No.
Nothing to do with where the ball was.
No, it had no effect
But
on it.
you mentioned Mike Tolbert. Kind of like I was surprised when it came to Sammy not shying away from contact. You certainly don't expect that from Mike Tolbert. He's getting in there. You knew when he was signed as a fullback.
Yeah.
His entire career, he's fullback on the roster, but he plays a lot like running back.
Yeah.
And legitimate carries. And what I was surprised with him is the opposite of with Sammy. It was that he was doing a lot of non-contact big-time plays, getting an open space. When the blocks opened up routes for him, he was hitting that with a little bit of speed.
Yeah.
And then one of those runs, he ended with a little bit of Mike Tolbert tradition and gets blared over somebody. Just walked over him.
just
How you do?
bulldozing his way through.
Absolutely.
Your boy Eddie Yarbrough looked amazing, and I don't think we're wrong in saying amazing. He had a sack tonight against, was it the starters that he had a sack?
I think it was against
get
Ellis
to-
Boone. So yeah, I think so. Oh, it was definitely the starters. Well, the first team tonight for the Vikings.
First team for the Vikings, okay. First team. He looked really good. I mean, he showed flashes. I thought he looked really, really good tonight. The one word that jumped out to me, the first thing I thought with him was motor. He just kept chugging. No matter where the play was, he tried the same move a couple times, and the veteran lineman eventually made the adjustments, and as soon as he realized that lineman had made the adjustment on his move, he went to a spin move, or he went to trying to do a swim move. He really was not afraid to try a couple different things, and he never gave up on the play. And that'll show up on tape. This is a guy that was I don't even want to say relative. He was an unknown coming into this camp, and I think he absolutely, after tonight, earned his way out of the roster.
On his sack, and this is against at least mostly a starting offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings, he ran a circle. He ran completely around. He was barely touched. It was just a mix of speed and technique. He got all the way around his offensive line counterpart there to sack. That was just taken aback because he's obviously a massive guy. I mean, he's a defensive lineman. Mm-hmm. But I have to give it to Joe Biscaglia of WKBW in Buffalo, because from day one he said, this is the guy to watch. I think he's maybe not undoubtedly fully 100% that, but definitely up there in terms of the best guy in Bill's training camp 2017 so far. And he was given just another opportunity with Shaq Lawson not playing today, and he took it. I mean, he was going to make his presence felt regardless, but you get him in there against the starters, and look what he does.
Now let me ask you something. You just said he's the best player in Bill's training camp. Do you mean the best player or the best unknown player?
The best performer.
The best performer. Wow, that's high praise, buddy.
I mean, a lot of people. That's not just me. If you guys Twitter search his name, you're going to see that a lot of media, players are saying that, coaches are saying that. Just kind of the consensus that he's definitely up there for that billing.
Alrighty then. I just wanted to clarify, because that's high praise, especially for a guy, as we just said, that nobody really knew about before this. Had a cup of coffee with Denver, I think it was. Didn't really even play in the CFL, and all of a sudden finds his way into the Buffalo roster. And man, I believe that Eddie Yarbrough is going to make this team, unless he just completely turns in a 180 the rest of camp. He looks like an NFL player. He looks like he belongs out there.
Yeah. So performer, maybe not the best player, because let's be serious. Right. He has to string together some stuff before best player, but best performer. He's not taking any veteran days off, so you get to see him out there succeeding more and more.
Hey, that's the truth. That's the truth. The other note I had just on the defense, I thought the starting defense looked really good. And Coach McDermott said afterwards that they didn't necessarily game plan for Minnesota. And I know Minnesota's never going to show anything, and everything's real basic. But if you got basic versus basic, and Buffalo's basic was better than Minnesota's basic, that's got to tell you something.
And it's just somebody else on that starting 11 there that I really was impressed with was Marcel Darius.
Yeah,
and this is a guy
with
such a disciplined head coach right now. He's had discipline issues in the past. He really needed to show discipline early on in the tenure of Sean McDermott as head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And gosh, he had one, not a sack, but it was a very short gain. He was getting blocked, and he basically only had one arm free, and he took down somebody.
That's the strength.
He's just a massive, massive dude that moves so well. And that one is more because he didn't get around the blocker. That's more just using his strength, and man, he showed it.
Oh, dude, that's a great point to bring up. I did notice the same. It was a run, and there was a decent-sized hole there if it wasn't for Darcel Marius' arm. And Darcel Marius. And Marcel makes a great play, as he may have been double-teamed on that play.
Maybe, yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but, I mean, either way, he was being harassed by the offensive lineman, and he just made the better play. Though I think with him, he showed a couple of times tonight that he still has the quickness off the line and the strength. Those are the two things that I think of when I think of Marcel. And he showed them. It wasn't like every play, but when the time called for it, he did it. And I mean, that's what preseason is. You're not going to see it every play because you want us to get the groove back. Let's just shake some of the rust off, and that's that. Your boy TJ Yates struggled. I didn't like him at all tonight in the second team. Nathan Peterman may have worked his way up the depth chart here. At times, I know he has struggled in camp, and I think you have said it, and a couple other people have said it, that he just has not looked good. I got to tell you, I have not been out to camp yet this year. If you hadn't told me this, I would tell you that Nathan Peterman should be the second-string quarterback because I thought, dare I say, he looked good tonight. And that's considering he's playing behind a third-line offense. He had Buffalo's only offensive touchdown. I mean, he was under duress for most of that fourth quarter because this offensive line in Buffalo, that third-string line, was not communicating. They were not picking up any blitzes. And he danced around, avoided a couple of sacks to create some yardage situations, some positive yardage situations. He looked good.
Yeah, and it was two different things with him. So he obviously is going to show what made him such a big QBR guy playing at Pitt on a national level, on a national scale, I should say. It's the football IQ. I almost said basketball IQ. You know, I'm a basketball
It's all right. Hey, it's all right.
And that touchdown pass, it wasn't him really showing a big arm because that's not really what he brings to the table at the moment. But it's just such precision and such football IQ to be able to have a fade like that from just barely outside, not going with the run, have the confidence go with him there. And he really showed that. But the surprising part is he definitely was not getting out of the pocket and doing things with his legs a lot with the Panthers last year and in his entire collegiate career. But man, oh man, there's a couple there in the fourth quarter.
A couple nice runs.
He really got it well. He was getting first downs, getting out of the pocket. That was very, very surprising.
That pass to Des Lewis was nice for a couple of reasons. It's pre-snap read, find your one-on-one coverage. You got to recognize it. Just like you said, that's that football IQ. And then the touch, just to float that ball in there. I mean, the red zone has been such an issue for the Buffalo Bills the past 3-4 years. It predates Tyrod, but it just continued under, Tyrod's, regime, so to speak. Peterman looked good. Your boy Zay did not. We still don't know what Zay Jones looks like on a football field in a Buffalo uniform. Noticeably absent is what I had from him. Wasn't on the stat sheet, and
no, that was big.
I wanted them to force the ball to Zay. I wanted him to get, and selfishly, I wanted him to catch the ball and take an NFL hit. Yeah. I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see how he would react to it, and we didn't get that tonight. We weren't going to get everything, but that was one thing I was really looking forward to. I mean, this is your second round pick. This is a guy that you have in the starting lineup. Force the ball into him. I don't care what the offense is doing. You force the ball into him. You're not trying to get into. To me, you're not trying to get into any sort of a rhythm offensively because you don't want to show anything.
And that was one of the biggest surprises for me tonight in the game. And on the negative side, very unfortunate because Zay Jones has been not only super pleasant to talk to as a media member at Bills Camp 2017, but he's been so good. He's been so solid. And regardless of position, not just in that receiving core, especially with Sammy Watkins having his injury issues and not out there maybe every single day, but to not see him show up in the stat sheet at all is big. But if we're going to be talking about rookies, I was very impressed with Kyle Shorts. He was just behind Sammy Watkins in terms of yardage, had 4 receptions of his own. And through the first weekend of Bills camp, he was a big name. Then he kind of fills it out just a little bit. I mean, Sammy was coming back more in full force.
Yep.
And you had kind of guys in terms of, Anquan Bolden came in. Andre Holmes kind of came into his own. So you really saw Shorts kind of fizzle away, but I think he came back into the limelight. So we'll see a guy who wasn't a big draft guy, obviously. Let's see what he does if he can really get back into relevance here.
We didn't get to see Anquan tonight. I would think next Thursday against Philadelphia we would get our first look at him.
Yeah, I know he's new, but, in Shaq had his injury issues.
We didn't see Shaq. We didn't see
Tavon Seymour had his injury issues.
Yep.
Anquan, I guess he's new to the team, but I guess I'm a little surprised he didn't do a little bit of something.
Just a series. I don't even recall seeing him for a series.
He's not hurt, seemingly.
Yeah. So, listen, he's a veteran. If you're the coaching staff, you got other fish to fry. You know he's going to make the roster. You know where you can use him. I don't think it's a matter of, oh, we don't know what to do with this guy. I guess it's just a matter of we want to see other guys. So
Yeah, that's not a bad point.
I would look forward to seeing him on Thursday. I had one other point, and now I forgot it.
Was it Taiwan Jones?
Taiwan. I wasn't going to mention him because he's not a big enough name to me, but that's a guy that worked his way off the roster. If there was an LVP, he was it tonight. Took a bad special teams penalty, dropped the ball on, was it a key fourth down that Peterman put it in his hands?
It should have been a touchdown.
It should have been a touchdown. Yeah. You're right. It could have. It wouldn't have been guaranteed, but it was.
Yeah, but at least a first down.
Yeah, it had progressed to the point where it was a guaranteed first down, and he maybe would have had a chance to turn it upfield and get in the end zone. So yeah.
And this is a guy 2 years ago led the league in return yards. When the unofficial depth chart, the first one of camp, came out a few days ago, I was a little bit surprised, even though he came into camp after a good chunk of days, that he only showed up once in the special teams part of the depth chart. And it was as a third string behind Rashad Ross and Brandon Tate, as I don't remember if it was punt or kick return, but one of those two. And you would expect a guy with that track record to maybe be a little bit up the
higher.
board.
Yeah.
But you're like, oh, okay, he's still getting used to this new team of his. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I know that's not returning it, actually, that special teams part of it. That what he struggled at, it was being a gunner on the other side of the ball and just hitting a guy after he waved for a fair catch way afterwards. I don't know what he was thinking. And then, obviously, on an offensive side of the thing. But I don't know. That's tough. I know that's not his main thing that he struggled at. Yeah. But still, those are two huge, huge mistakes.
Huge errors. But I'll tell you this much. I don't think Brandon Tate secured any sort of return game. He did not look good. I think he had two. He fair caught a ball in the 6 when he probably should have just let it go. He didn't fair catch a ball that ended up at the 6-yard line. He did not look good either. It's nitpicky, but special teams is going to be a big part of this. CJ Spiller's not there. He's not going to be there to make those explosive plays anymore. So that's all I had on the game. You got anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Let's go to the PGA Championship. Your boy Matsuyama, 1 under after round 1. My pick, Rory, is +1. Had a double on 14 that he put it into the water. He didn't look as comfortable driving the ball as maybe he should have. Jordan Spieth did not look good with the putter, and that's where you expect him to look amazing. Had 32 putts on the first round. I only played 9 holes today, so I had fewer putts than he did. But even if you doubled my putts, I don't know that I'm at 32, man. That's no good.
No, usually with Jordan Spieth, you're like, oh no, he's getting in his head now because he's still young, even though he's had so many young but good moments as a pro golfer. Yeah. But honestly, after what he did in his last major, you kind of can't ever count him out because he had. Within 4 holes, he had maybe his worst hole ever, and then a massive, massive comeback from that. So at this point, after that, you have to look at his career and pre what happened in those 4 holes and post what happened in those 4 holes. Because now you can never count him out as long as he's at least close to being at the top there. But Matsuyama just has to stay alive. He just has to stay at the top.
He's there, man. He is in contention, no doubt. And really, you mentioned the word top. This is what the phrase that I put down: virtual no names at the top of the leaderboard. They are. I'd never heard of some of these guys. Now, not too far down, you get guys like Matsuyama, Ricky Fowler. The big guys are there. They're hanging around. But, the more I look at this leaderboard, the more I love your pick last weekend of Hideki Matsuyama.
Let's see. One of those sleeper picks that's leading the FedEx standings. I usually go more sleeper than that. But
as I say, that's not much of a sleeper if he's leading the FedEx.
I know. But sarcasm there.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't pick up on it. It is late on a Thursday night.
Oh no, it's Friday.
Oh, it is. It's Friday. Sorry. Anything else on the PGA Championship? I can mention who we're going to have on this weekend, if not.
Sounds good.
All right. So, in staying with the PGA Championship theme, we've got one more story for you. But in staying with the PGA Championship theme, we're going to have our golf expert, Marty Nowicki, on to talk about a little recap of this, and just to promote our other guest, our other thoughts. Ashley Carter coming back to do the 90s this time. We're doing our 90s mock draft. Where are they now? Had some fun with the 80s. I appreciate you guys appeasing me and talking a little 80s. So yeah, all right. The last story. Tonight at the old ballpark in Rochester, the Red Wings transformed to the Rochester Plates in honor of Nick Tahoe's 100th anniversary. They had how many people there? Like 12,000, I think, people showed up to this.
I think it was their 5th biggest crowd ever.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw 5th biggest.
I don't remember the case.
I want to say it was like 12 something, and that would sound correct. Rochester made an interesting announcement tonight. Starting next year, every Thursday home game, they're going to go out as the Rochester Plates. So
That's
in
huge.
true AAA baseball fashion, they're going to continue the gimmick. And is it overboard? I mean, is it too much?
Hey, they're a money-making organization. When you really look at it, and man, they sold a lot tonight, but for weeks and weeks and weeks now, they've been selling all sorts of merch. And I was worried because I wanted to put in another Plates gear order, and now I'm like, oh, well, I don't have to do it super, super soon because I assume they're going to be doing it for at least the next year.
I mean, when we talked to Nate Rowan, the PR guy for the Red Wings / Plates now, he mentioned that this stuff, their gear, their Plates gear, was flying off the shelves. They could not keep it stocked, and that they were back ordered. And when they first started this, they weren't sure how much to buy because they weren't sure what the response was going to be like.
Look what we got now.
And look where we are.
So we've talked about on the show before. We talked when we had Nate on as a guest about all the different viral things involved with the Plates, with that promotional idea that they had, that just were getting picked up by all sorts of outlets around the country. And then just today, SportsCenter, one of the early shows, had a little blurb about it.
Nice.
The Washington Post did an article that released today about it. Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
This AAA ballpark. I mean, listen, and you had teams in the same league right down the thruway try something similar. Syracuse did it with the salt potatoes thing. And I'll tell you, I'm disappointed in my fellow Syracusans because Rochester fully embraced the Plates. I don't think Syracuse, I think, embraced it for the game, but Rochester clearly went above and beyond for this. And listen, man, kudos to the Flower City because I love the response to this. I love the way they've embraced this. I think even like some of the players have embraced it. I mean, this is just such a cool thing to do. And I mean, it's obvious that they've embraced it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do this quirky promotion every Thursday home game next year.
I don't think pork is usually part of the plate. It's mostly like a beef thing.
I said quirky.
Oh, I thought you said porky.
No. We gotta get you some better headphones over there. Anything else on the Plates?
Go Plates.
Okay. Anything else in general?
Go Plates.
Go Plates. Mello might be back on the trading table, by the way, with something we'll dive into maybe a little bit further on Sunday about, but it looks like tonight there was a late report. Late report on Thursday, I should say.
He's been hanging out with CJ McCollum a lot.
Oh, interesting, because it looks like the Rockets and the Knicks have started to talk again. I don't even know what to call it. I mean, who knows with the Knicks? This report could be coming out of New York, and it could be completely false just to try to start things up again. So it's a wait and see. It could be a 3-team deal. It sounds like everything and anything is on the table at this point, where it could be a 3-team deal. They could wait till they're in the season to finally trade him. But it does look like the Knicks want to move away from him, that they just want to get younger.
Yeah, no, at this point, I don't think it makes sense at all for him to stay.
No, and it's going to be awkward for him to stay, frankly. So, all right, that is the Friday show episode. What are we, 12? We're a dozen into these things. That's 12. All right.
Oh, I didn't know.
Travs, we'll see you on Sunday. We'll see everyone else on Monday for the podcast. Make sure you download, subscribe, archived episodes of TBD on iTunes and Google Play. Check out the website, tobedeterminedshow.com. Everything's there. All the social media accounts, every episode, every post-game press conference, everything. Last episode of the podcast was episode 23, Hit Him With an MJ. Jenna Cottrell mentioned her secret talent, and we may or may not see her on the new ESPN The Ocho. So if that's not a tease to go download a show, I don't know what'll get you to a show. Go download.